Hi guys, welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhoades and I'm here to get you started on Unit 7, Silent Letters. Please take a second to gather your materials. You'll need your orange book, open to page 47. You'll also need some colorful crayons, pencils, or markers. Whatever I mark up on the board, you should be marking on your page. If I go too fast, please remember to pause and catch up. All right, so for 6 weeks, we looked at short vowels that show up in 2-syllable words, right? Remember, our 5 vowels are A, E, I, O, and U, and their short vowel sounds are A, E, I, A. Last week, we continued with short vowels, but we started talking about digraphs, specifically the CK digraph, 2 letters that work together to make one sound, which is K. This week, we're going to be talking about a different kind of letter combination. We're going to be looking at silent letters. You will notice on this list that there will be one letter in each word that does not make a sound. And that letter is always paired with another letter that does the talking. Okay, so our goal this week is to find those silent letters so that we can remember to use them in our spelling. All right, repeat after me. Assign, bristle, bustle, castle, climb, design, hustle, knuckle, nestle, resign, rustle, sign, whistle, wrestle, wriggle. Okay, did you notice a lot of letters that did not talk? Those are our silent letters. All right, I want to start, as we always do, by breaking our multisyllabic words into pieces. So the word assign, we're going to slice right between the double S's. The word bristle, we're going to slice between the S and T. Bustle, between the S and T. Castle, between the S and T. Climb is 1 syllable. Design, after the E. Hustle, between the S and T. Knuckle, after the K. Remember last week we said we never split a word in the middle of a digraph. That C and K have to stay together. Nestle, after the S. Resign, after the E. Rustle, after the S. Sign is 1 syllable. Whistle, after the S. Wrestle, after the S. And wriggle, between the double G's. In our key, we will write blue line equals syllable break. Okay, so now I want to start looking for some of those silent letter combinations. I want to notice which letters always go together, and I want to notice where they show up. Do they show up at the beginning of a word, at the end of a word, or in the middle? Okay, so the first combination we see is the GN in assign. So put a box around the GN, okay? Whenever you see GN together in the same syllable, only one of them is going to talk. You will hear the N sound, but the G will be silent. So we see that in assign. We see it again in design. We see it again in resign. And then we see it again in sign. Okay, so purple box equals the GN combination. Okay, now, here's one that maybe you haven't thought about before. Look at the word bristle. I hear the S. I hear that ul that we've been practicing all year, but I don't hear the T. The T is silent, right? And the T always shows up after an S. So I want you to put a box around the S and the T in bristle, bustle, castle, hustle, nestle, rustle, whistle, and wrestle. All right, you're going to focus a lot of energy on this week, okay? When you have a 2-syllable word and the first syllable ends with that s and the second syllable says ul, there's probably going to be a silent T in there, okay? So this is what we call the ST chunk, okay? I'm going to put a little dot above the letter that's silent. So in assign, the G is silent. But in bristle, bustle, and castle, the T is silent. All right, let's keep going. Look at the word climb. For some strange reason, there's a B in there, right? A silent B. You've seen this before. Think back to last year. You had words like lamb and numb, right? But here's another case where the M and the B go together, but the B is silent. Green box equals MB, and I'm going to put a dot above the B to remind myself that one's silent. Notice that this shows up at the end of a word. Okay, another common silent letter team. I know you've seen this before. Look at the word knuckle. K-N in knuckle. All right. When you see K-N at the beginning of a word, the K is silent. The N does the talking. All right. One more. Let's find the WR in wrestle and the WR in wriggle. You've seen this combination before in words like wrap and wrist, okay, right. So in this case, we have WR showing up at the beginning of a word. The W is silent, okay? So down here, I'm just going to say W or dot equals silent letter. That's the one that doesn't do any talking. All right. In previous weeks, we started talking about prefixes. We know that a prefix like miss or non or un can be added to the beginning of a word to change its meaning slightly. We also have suffixes that change the meaning, but they're added to the end of a word. We'll learn more about those later this year. But then we also have something that shows up in the middle of a word, and that's called a root. So the root I want you to think about this week is S-I-G-N. So put a box around S-I-G-N in assign. That comes from a Latin word that has to do with signs, symbols, or markings. Okay, so anytime you see S-I-G-N in a word, sign, it's going to have something to do with symbols or markings. So if you think about it, if you assign jobs, you write them down and say, here you go. right? Feed the dog, clean your room. Boom. You've assigned a job to somebody. If you design something, you write it down. You have a plan in your head, right? And then you jot it down, okay? You take the ideas and you use symbols and markings to draw your ideas on paper, right? So you are designing. If you resign, that means you quit your job, right? So when you get hired, you sign the paper. You're like, yep, I want to work here. When you resign, you're saying, nope, take it back. I don't want to work here anymore. By the way, is a prefix that can mean back. So when you resign, you tell your boss, take it back, okay? And then, of course, right here, the word sign, right? Like a stop sign or a yield sign. It is a symbol or a marking that tells us what to do. So down here, purple box equals root, okay? You're gonna find as you get older that many of our words come from Latin and therefore have Latin roots, or they come from Greek and have Greek roots, okay? Learning those roots, noticing those roots will help you understand what words mean. Okay, before we go, let's talk about our vocab. So we talked about assign, right? When you assign something, it means you give a job. So your teacher might assign homework, or your parents might assign chores. Bristle, if you have a hairbrush or a toothbrush, those sharp pointy things sticking out, those are called bristles. When you bustle, that means you hurry, you move fast. Castle is a type of home where royal people live, kings and queens. Climb, you know what that means, right? You go to the top. We talked about design. Hustle also means hurry, right? Sometimes we talk about the hustle and bustle of the school day or the work day or the busy city streets, right? Hustle and bustle, everybody's moving around fast. Knuckles, those are parts of your fingers, right? And you have knuckles right here as well. Nestle means to get cozy. So I know my dog likes to nestle on the couch. If I'm sitting there and my sons are sitting there, she will figure out a way to nestle between us, to snuggle up and get cozy. Okay, we talked about resign. That means to quit a job. Rustle is a noise. It's a type of noise. Sometimes, especially in the fall when all the dry leaves have landed on the ground, you can hear a rustling in the woods. If the squirrels are there or people are walking, you just hear that sound of people crunching leaves. That would be a rustle. Sign, you know. Whistle, remember, it can be something you put in your mouth, or some people, not me, but some people know how to whistle by puckering their lips together. Wrestle, that's like when you try to like knock somebody over, right? It's kind of a type of fighting. Sometimes it's play fighting. It's also a high school sport. You can join the wrestling team so that you can learn how to tackle people without hurting them. And then wriggle, that word, it's a lot like wiggle, right? Because when you wriggle, you move your body. But usually when we wriggle, it's because we're trying to get away. So think about a worm on a hook is wriggling because he's trying to get loose. A baby, if you're trying to hold a toddler and they don't want to be held, they will wriggle out of your arms, right? They're wiggling so that they can get out. So for wriggle, I'm just going to write squirm to get loose, okay? That's the goal of wriggling. You're trying to get loose. All right, that's all I have for you guys today. Good luck, and I will see you soon. Bye-bye.